So as he's working the case, we started getting information about prostitution houses that were running in the city at that time. This is one house at 1009 Madison, and this is a card that they would hand out to advertise prostitution. That's a sample of one. It might be a florist delivery. It could be a car repair shop. But all the cards had something very much in common. When you have a business card, you have a name, you have an address, and you have a phone number generally. All these cards had some type of name and a phone number. So we started seeing this more and more often. So we started cluing in as to what might be a prostitution advertisement and what might be a legitimate business card. Here you have nothing in the room. You have a bed, you have alcohol, you have some type of lotion, and then packs of condoms. And that's typically what we would see in here.
The pack of condoms, they're not what you buy at a supermarket. They're imported. They're a certain type of brand that they use. They get them in bulk. They're much cheaper. What they do is they make the ladies pay for them. That's part of, you know, it's usually the services, they pay $30 for 15 minutes. Usually that's split $15 for the female, and then 10 goes back to the guy who is organizing it. And then, but she never sees actually the $15. She might see $5 of it because she has to pay for her supplies. Or
everything you see on this table, the paper towels, the rubbing alcohol, the lotions, the condoms, she's got to pay for all that. She gets dropped off typically on a Monday and gets picked up on a Sunday. From Monday to Sunday, she is locked up in that house. She is not allowed to leave the house. They have a doorman there. If they're hungry, the doorman runs and gets them something to eat. Comes back, they have to pay for that. So they pay for everything. They make nothing. Actually, they end up owing the house money.
Let me just touch base on too. The victim involved in the homicide, he was actually doing the delivery by a vehicle. So the owner of this property, the person in charge of this property, was Herman Ventura, and he's the picture in dark hair that's in that pamphlet. Herman Ventura had houses. What he would do is he would go down to D.C. area or Riverdale, Maryland, and he'd pick up the girls, and then he would deliver them to the houses here in Annapolis, or the houses that he established over in Easton, or the houses that he had down in Norfolk, Virginia, Portsmouth, Virginia, or Washington, D.C., and he would put usually 2 girls at the house. So when the victim, Mr. Rivera's, when he got killed, that was cutting into his competition here in Annapolis. So they had a little beef back and forth, and there were words that were being exchanged between Herman Ventura and Mr. Ramirez. And we also, you know, obviously put it together with also the phone contacts between those two as well. We were getting a lot of information in the community that the number 963-0903 was the guy who was in charge of Annapolis. His name, they called him, had several different names. And they changed their names up because they don't want people to recognize their real name. At that time, he was going by Pancho. And then he changed it up to Gino, and then later Oscar. And he would change it up just so nobody would know him. He would change up his vehicles all the time. So when he brought the girls in, he might be in a van one day, he might be in a Honda the other day. So that's what you're seeing here.
These are surveillance pictures that we took down at the McDonald's in Riverdale.
This was very surprising this day. If it will,
go ahead.
This when I got down there and I saw the vehicles that obviously is back in June. The vehicles all merged in together. First of all, it's no doubt in my mind that the McDonald's down there every Monday between probably 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, that's where the girls get exchanged. It was remarkable. Girls would get out of the cars and they would be going into other person's car, and then this car would pull up and the guy would say, no, she's going with me, and all her luggage would go into that car.
All her luggage means one bag like this.
Yeah. But this day was surprising because, again, Herman Ventura pulls up in his van, and that's his secondary car, that little Nissan. They do the exchange. The one car came from Easton, the other car came from Annapolis, and the girls, they would be on a circuit. They would, he even traveled up to New York to pick the girls up one time, and they're on a big circuit. So that's how they rotate.
We had a house associated with case that was in Easton. Those are two of the doormen there. Here's an example of the conditions that they're living in. A typical bedroom. Now, we've been in houses, prostitution houses, where they'll have a bedroom and there'll be 2 mattresses in the bedroom, a girl on each mattress, and then the little bitty closet, there's a mattress in there for a 3rd girl. This is all about making money. It's not about respecting life. It's not about taking care of the girls. They're treated worse than the neighborhood dog. This right here is the tick sheet that I told you about. Each guy that's serviced is a little mark. When the guy comes in, he pays the doorman his money. He's either handed like a poker chip, a playing card, or it could be anything, just so to keep track. When he walks in, he hands the girl the card. The girl marks it on her sheet. At the end of the day, her sheet and the number of poker chips and cards need to match up, and that's how much money she's supposed to get.
I think we raided the place on 11 o'clock in the morning on that Wednesday, and she already seen 2 guys.
Right, because here you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we got 5, 10, 15, 20, looks like 23 guys here on Tuesday. And they do close. They don't open until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they run till 11 o'clock at night. .704 Great Bay, surveillance here as well. Had a little prostitution going on is there. Just back up 1 slide. Pretty nice looking neighborhood, right? Would you think that there'd be a prostitution house in a neighborhood like that? It happens all over the place. We had a prostitution house 3 doors down from the Eastport Post Office. Right there on the main drag.
And I talked with one of the neighbors there, and I told them who I was and what I was going to do, and the resident there said, you know, I thought it was something suspicious. I would always see, you know, 3 or 4 Hispanics get out of the cars and wouldn't be there long, and they just never thought about calling the police. That's what information we need. It's almost like a drug deal, you know, where there's just constant activity. When this day, I'd probably taken, this was probably within 20, 30 minutes of each other. These guys going to this house. Now the victim hasn't arrived there yet.
Guys, you know, every time, it seems like every time I come up here I say the exact same thing, but it's so true. You know what your neighborhood's supposed to be like. You know what activity is normal in your neighborhoods. If you see a car pull up one day and 3 girls get out or 10 girls get out and they go in the house and you don't see them again until the end of the week, is that normal? If you have a steady stream of guys every night between the hours of 1 and 11, is that normal? Don't be afraid to call it in. We're not going to come back at you and yell at you and say, you made the dumbest mistake in the world. No, we're going to go investigate it. We'll know what we're looking at as soon as we see it, and then we'll be able to do something about it, and you'll never be involved. But it gets the element out of your neighborhoods. Even if we don't even find the prostitution and we just knock on the door, what's that prostitution guy going to say?
Oh, they're looking at me.
Exactly. This neighborhood cares. I'm going to go find another house. Yes, ma'am.
I have not had it happen here, calling the Annapolis police, because I'm fortunate I haven't had too many opportunities to call the Annapolis police. But one of the problems that at other jurisdictions that I've had in the past, when I called the police, for example, and I used to live in a neighborhood in PG County where I knew what a drug deal was. I saw them go down outside my door all the time. I would call and dispatch and say, oh, well, how do you know it's a drug deal? With about the same tone of voice that I'm using right now. I don't know if that ever has anything to do with why people may not call you, but I would say whatever to try to make sure that the dispatch people that are receiving these calls.
You're absolutely right, ma'am, and I'm not going to say that's never happened here in Annapolis, because people have bad days or whatever happens. I mean, it's possible that somebody could get that, but I'll tell you that as many calls as we go on where people are calling in suspicious activity, I think our guys are pretty receptive at taking those calls, because we probably get 20, 30 calls a day. So-and-so down on this street, they're wearing a blue shirt and black pants, and the neighbors think they're suspicious. I mean, that's how it comes out on the radio. We get those calls all day long, every day.
Yeah, they don't transmit what the person really, I used to have a police scanner, and I sometimes heard what was being transmitted, and it wasn't anything like what I said.
Right.
It's like,
and I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have to give your name, phone number, anything. You can call up here, they'll say 911, what's your emergency? You, first thing out of your mouth, can say, I want to be anonymous. And then you can tell them what's going on. So, and a lot of people don't call in because they don't want to give their information. You can start off, hey, I just want to be anonymous, but this is what's going on. And that's perfectly all right. We're not going to pry the information out of you. This next clip is a short clip, and this is basically a surveillance picture that Detective McGinnis took of a drop-off of prostitution. He's changing seats in the car.
It's a thrilling video. It's the glamorous life.
There's the guy that's doing the delivery. He's got a buddy on the other side who probably is the doorman. He opens the door for the prostitute. He's getting her one bag out. And he's nice enough to carry your suitcase in, and that's the last nice thing she'll see for the week. There's the second girl that got out on the other side. Got cut her off. I made it. This is Jeff's case. It started with the homicide that ended up turning into a prostitution case, as well as the homicide, because they were both connected. It went to federal court November 15th of 2010. Late last year, he ended up getting convictions on the two guys that went up there.
Just to fill in real quick, you know, this case again, it just evolved with several other cases, and there was other people, other pimps that started helping out in the case, becoming a CI in the case, and he was then threatened by Herman Ventura. There was again the Easton brothel. We followed him down to Norfolk, Virginia. We did a lot of surveillance on him just to find out his method of operation. And then, like I say, it just the case then started getting more violent, where another pimp was threatened with a shotgun. And that's why we had to take it down on November 15th, 2010. We did the raids out there at Carver Street. We did one in
South Villa.
South Villa, and then Prince George's County we also did. And then we did one down at Nova Avenue at Herman Ventura's house in PG County, close to the DC line. So anyway, the best result out of this is Herman Ventura got 35 years. Curlin Fuentes has got like 17 years. The release dates are in there. I think it's a pretty decent sentence.
That's an awesome sentence.
That the federal government gave to him. And Curlin Fuentes is still awaiting trial in May for the murder case. So that'll be still down in circuit court in May. So, you know, seeing how the federal government works and the amount of people we had to get together and organize up there. It was a week and a half trial. It was very fascinating. I don't want to go through it again, but it was definitely different. You know, they had two prosecutors on the case along with Ed Kelly, who helped out tremendously.